Egypt was one of the greatest and most influential civilizations in human history. It lasted 3,000 years and had many powerful rulers. The ancient civilization left us art, engineering, writing, and more to discover. Ancient Egypt is one of the oldest and most fascinating civilizations, and we still have much to learn about it. From an unknown queen to the lost golden city, here is what archaeologists discovered in Egypt that has left people speechless. Ancient Egypt's mysteries. No other civilization captivates scholars and laypeople alike. Mystery surrounds Egypt's origins, religion, and architecture. Only the pyramids remain of 7 ancient monuments. Archaeologists continue to unearth ancient Egypt's priceless artifacts, one of history's greatest civilizations. Thrived for more than 3,000 years alongside the Nile River in northeast Africa. After Egypt fell to the Greeks, Romans, and Muslims, its ancient glories were buried. Archaeologists and historians began studying Egyptology centuries after Egypt's glories resurfaced. Beginning in the 19th century, discoveries like the Rosetta Stone and Tutankhamun's tomb in the Valley of the Wai Kings, along with the excavation of the pyramids at Giza, opened the doors to a new understanding of ancient Egypt's mysteries, fueling an explosion in interest and tourism. Many ancient Egyptian pharaohs built elaborate monuments and tombs for themselves. They inscribed them with hieroglyphics detailing their lives and accomplishments. Modern scholars have used written records to divide Egypt's history into the Old, Middle, and New Kingdoms, with unstable periods in between. This required meticulous excavations, research, and translation. Every new tomb or underground chamber reveals more about ancient Egypt's fascination with death and the afterlife, including their sophisticated mummification practices. Unfortunately, looters stole gold jewelry and other valuables from many tombs centuries before modern archaeologists arrived. The mummies that were eventually discovered, such as King Tut, Ramses II, and Hatshep, were extremely valuable because so many had disappeared. Ancient Greek shipwreck loaded with treasures. In the waters of Alexandria, a shipwreck with Greek artifacts from the Ptolemaic era of Egypt was recently found. The Frank Guardio Eliade European Institute for Underwater Archaeology made the announcement. The shipwreck was from a period when Greek civilization had significant influence in Egypt in the final years of the pharaohs. It is situated in the Bay of Abukir in the submerged, lost ancient city of Heraklion or Thonis, close to Alexandria. After being hit by 2nd century BC temple, blocks of the ship sank. The ship was moored along the temple's south face when the disaster struck. The shipwreck was pinned to the bottom of the canal by falling blocks, which were then filled with clay and sanctuary debris. It was a shipwreck buried under 15 feet of clay and temple ruins. A sub-bottom profiler sonar prototype was found on the ancient ship. Such Hellenistic ships had never been seen. Valley of Golden Mummies, about 388 kilometers southwest of Cairo, the Egyptian capital. The Valley of the Golden Mummies is close to the Baharia Oasis. Roman remains have been discovered in the valley. There were Roman settlers there between the years 2000 and 3000. They received water from the oasis while they were in the desert. But the most well-known archaeologist in Egypt thinks that the Greeks may have created the burial site even earlier. The Supreme Council of Antiquities of Egypt is led by Zahi Hawass. He oversees archaeological projects and locations, like the well-known pyramids of Giza. For the past 6 years, Mr. Hawass has been overseeing archaeology in the valley and the nearby town of Bawidi. In 1996, the Valley of the Golden Mummies was unintentionally discovered. Science can thank an animal for this priceless discovery. A donkey transported an Egyptian security guard across the desert one day. The donkey then stumbled. Its foot slid on the top of a burial mound made of rock and sand. Researchers quickly discovered that the Baharia Oasis is home to numerous graves. The valley spans an area of at least 10 square kilometers. There are at least 10,000 mummies entered there. Some estimates put that number much higher. According to Mr. Hawass, it is the largest ancient cemetery ever discovered. At the discovery of the Valley of the Golden Mummies was initially kept a secret by the authorities. The Egyptian government wanted to stop the theft of antiquities. Mr. Hawass led a team that unearthed more than 100 mummies 3 years after the discovery. They were taken from 4 tombs or other structures for the dead, the Egyptian pyramids in Giza. During the Old Kingdom, these enormous structures were constructed for 3 families of pharaohs, Khufu, also known as Cheops, Khafre, and Menkaure. They are possibly the most well-known symbols of ancient Egypt. 2575 till 2130 BC, it is still unknown exactly how the Egyptian pyramids were built. However, the ancient Greek historian Herodotus estimated that 100,000 men worked for approximately 20 years to create the largest pyramid, which was built for Khufu and was known as the Great Pyramid. Looters broke in and stole many of their treasures over the course of several centuries. By the time the first modern excavation took place in the year 1880, archaeologists could only speculate about the wealth that had once been contained in these sites. 100-ton stone boxes, the Serapeum, located in Saqqara, is one of the most mysterious sites in Egypt. August Marriott founded the Serapeum in 1850. The age of the tunnels and boxes is debated. The Serapeum has 25 boxes. Each box weighs 70 tons with a 30-ton lid. Each lid was carved from the same stone as the box. Each box fits into a narrow niche. Dynastic Egyptians didn't have the technology to create these coffins for prize apis bowls. Marriott and the others use gunpowder to blow open some of these lost ancient high-tech artifacts, thinking that find valuable content. No apis bowls, no treasure, nothing. Their purpose is unknown. Many of the boxes are made of rose, granite from Aswan, 500 miles away, and others appear to be made of diorites and even harder stone. Egyptologists can't explain how dynastic Egyptians quarried and transported such large blocks. Some surfaces have astounding precision. Engineer Chris Dunn measured 2/10,000th-inch deviations from laser straight on some inside surfaces, which would have been impossible for dynastic Egyptian bronze tools. Most Egyptologists insist that both the boxes and the crudely etched inscriptions were made by the same hands. The Serapeum boxes are older than the dynastic Egyptians and were made by a culture with 21st century technology. The Rosetta Stone. In the year 1798, officers serving in Napoleon Bonaparte's army came across a piece of black granite with inscriptions. On one side, not far from the Egyptian town of Rashid, also Rosetta. The Rosetta Stone, dated to 196 BC, is thought to have been carved in Memphis on behalf of Ptolemy IV, pharaoh of Egypt at the time, to affirm his right to rule over Egypt. It was written in hieroglyphic Demotic and Greek, and its translation in 1822 provided the key to understanding Egyptian hieroglyphs for the first time. This led to new insights into the history of ancient Egypt as a whole. Even though Egypt has been asking for its return for a long time, it has been in British possession ever since in Apollonic Wars ended. Temple of Bastet. The Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities announced in 2010 that archaeologists had discovered the ruins of a temple built 200 years ago and buried beneath the streets of modern-day Alexandria. The temple was constructed by Queen Berenice II, who was the wife of Ptolemy III, the ruler of Egypt during the years 246 till 222 BC. The temple was dedicated to the Egyptian goddess Bastet, who took the form of a cat. Some 600 cat statues were discovered inside the temple, suggesting their veneration continued even during the Greek-speaking Ptolemaic dynasty, which ruled Egypt from the arrival of Alexander the Great in 332 BC to the suicide of Egypt's last ruler, Cleopatra, in AD 30. Cats were revered animals and common house pets in ancient Egypt. Queen Hatshepsut's mummy. Around the year 1458 BC, when Queen Hatshepsut passed away, her stepson and successor Thutmose III had a significant amount of the evidence of her reign destroyed before the late 19th century, when archaeologists decoded the hieroglyphics. In her template Deir el-Bahri in Luxor, very little was known about Egypt's first great female leader. In 1903, when Howard Carter discovered the sarcophagus of Hatshepsut, he found that it was empty just like the majority of the tombs in the Valley of the Kings. However, a different tomb discovered in the temple contained two coffins. One recognizes having belonged to Head Sepsis Wetner's. A muller that was found in a jar with the queen's embalmed organs was a match to the space in the mummy's jaw, which led to the conclusion that the remains in the other coffin belonged to Hatshepsut herself. This discovery was made in the year 2007. The Egyptian Museum in Cairo is currently the location of the mummy of Hatshepsut temples at Abu Simbel. During the reign of Ramesses II, the most ambitious construction project was the construction of these two stone temples, which were carved into a mountainside. Around the year 1244 BC, near the border between Egypt and Sudan, four enormous statues of the pharaoh stood guard at the entrance to the larger temple. Inside, a network of chambers had been constructed in such a way that on 2 days out of every year the sunlight could illuminate another statue of Ramesses that was housed within the temple. The entrance to the temple had been hidden in the sand for a very long time, before it was discovered in 1817 by the Italian archaeologist Giovanni Belzoni, who had previously worked as a strong man in a circus in order to make room for the construction of the Aswan High Dam. In the 1960s, the entire temple complex was dismantled and then rebuilt on higher ground. This was done in preparation for the dam's completion. That's all for today, but we will be back with more new mysterious videos. Tell us about your thoughts on this one in the comments below. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel before you go. Thanks for watching.